All right, Bob and Hayden, taking a look at those swings that Hayden took in between games down there in the tunnels. Again, I was very impressed with Hayden all weekend, the way he carried himself, the way he interacted with the kids, his hustle, his knowledge of the game. Just an outstanding ball player, tremendous arm, big, strong athlete that's comfortable and productive at the plate. These swings at the top are his left-handed swings. The swings at the bottom are his right-handed swings that I've flipped around just to make them a little easier to compare. Again, a couple things here. Like I told you, I prefer to use, the live swings, or the game swings as much as possible, and prefer, I don't use T swings much at all to really analyze, and not so much soft toss either, because I've found, in my time with the Padres, I quit using even the BP swings because they were so much different from the game swings. With the simulators in my building where we can, mix in, the off-speed stuff and really create a game-like environment, I do find that those swings that we have in our building do match up pretty well with what they're doing in a live game. A lot of that is trying to get them into a live game mentality, a mental, situation that they're in a live game, so that we can get those, as close to real swings as possible. And I found that, I can take my professional players and compare what they did, off the simulators in the building, and compare that to, games that other film that I get from live games, and find that there's very little any difference between the two swings. So again, we're not looking at live swings here, so I expect there is some difference in what he does. And also, I filmed this with my camera. With my phone and not a camera. And so the way I had to get this into my computer, my frame rates aren't exactly syncing up. Okay, but fairly close. Not exactly, but fairly close. Okay. All right, Hayden, right-handed thrower, obviously, and a switch hitter who swings primarily from the left-hand side of the plate, which is going to be the case for a true switch hitter. You're going to face more righties than lefties, especially at the lower level. As you move up, the percentage of lefties that you see will increase. But bottom line is, Hayden's done most of his work, obviously, from the left-hand side of the plate. And so we've got two different left-handed swings up here at the top, two different right-handed swings up here at the bottom. We want to, compare, the righty swings against one another to see if they're consistent. Compare the lefty swings against one another to see if they're consistent. And then also with the switch hitter, you like to see, does the lefty side look like the righty side? I'm going to start down here with the right-handed side, and just kind of looking at, how similar they are. And one thing that you see there, in a big difference, is with this righty swing, you can see the lead arm kind of reach back into extension there, whereas here on this one, it really kind of locks in that front elbow, which is, I think, something that Hayden has tried to do. But the point here, and we're going to compare him to a big leaguer here in a second, but I just want to look for any inconsistencies, within each side, and there you certainly see one. Beyond that, I think the right-handed swings were pretty similar. He did start with his hands closer here and a little farther back here, which I think promoted a little bit more of a reach back, in that swing. Looking at the lefty side was a little more consistent. Footwork varied sometimes. For example, in this one, he kind of did a no stride. On this one, he did a little bit of what I kind of call a false stride. But swing pattern was a little more consistent there. Launching from a real good position there, but pretty consistent from the left side. I tend to like this swing better than this one on the right. There's a little more, you can really see him kind of get off of that backside, a little better drive there, and really kind of bracing up and funneling to the hands there on that swing. Now comparing the the left side to the right side, I think his game plan is about the same with regard to to the footwork. I think that's pretty consistent between the the lefty side and the righty side. And also, I think what he's trying to do with the bat path is also highly similar. Okay. Okay, guys, looking at Hayden here from the left-hand side of the plate up against Tony Gwynn, and down here at the bottom, right-hand side of the plate against Miguel Cabrera. There's basically, two fundamental things that I look for in a swing, and that's the throw-like properties of the swing, and how well does he transfer, or how well does he crack the whip in his swing. And that crack of the whip is really just basic conservation momentum principles. Does he transfer energy to the bat head? Does he get the energy out to the bat? So again, throw-like properties and transfer funneling type mechanics. And then, when I look at that, I look at three primary areas. How does the back arm move? How does the back leg move? And then really we kind of look at that front side. As a strong base to hit behind. Let's go ahead and start with, the back leg here. And really, the back leg has two very simple, goals. We have to load the back leg and we have to unload the back leg, and this unloading is really just a sideways pressing action, just like when we throw. The reason you stride, the reason people take a step when they throw, or the reason they take a step when they hit, is it provides a means for loading and unloading the back leg. So when you have a hitter taking a natural stride like this, you can see Miggy's loaded when the foot is in the air, but then he is in the process of unloading before the heel gets down. And then before contact and through contact, you can see both of our Hall of Famers here, the back foot is weightless before and through contact, so they have driven off of the backside and they're hitting behind that front side. So, but I just want to stay here with the back leg. The reason you're striding, or the reason that normal hitters stride, when just like when you throw, is to load and unload the back leg. And you can look at a lot of the other YouTube videos I have up there on the throw-like characteristics of hitting, and there's a number of them up there to look at that. But we have a real simple function with that back leg, is load and unload. Okay, so we look at Hayden, and he's using what I would characterize as a false stride, to where there's his heel is down, and he's balanced here. In other words, he's got his weight equally distributed, and so the stride doesn't involve an unloading into the front side. And so what does all that mean? It means I don't think he's using his back leg as much as he could. It's more, his focus is more on turning the leg, as opposed to using as a force producing, driving component of his swings, as we see, in the best hitters. Now, at the end there's a little bit of bracing there and a little bit of drive, but that's happening, at a lesser degree and later than we're seeing in our big leaguers. And again, what I try to look for is just a natural move. It's just a simple, negative and positive out of that back leg. A simple, 1-2 action really is all we want, is a load and a sideways unload. Okay, and the same type of action, and it's really happening here at the hip joint, here with the leg pressing, sideways into heel plant, a lateral driving component. Now once that heel lands, okay, the head stabilizes. Okay, and there's no more forward movement at that point. But we do want that, the question is, how do we want that back leg to contribute? Do we want that leg involved in driving into the backside, into the front side? Do you want that leg to be a force producer? So bottom line, I think he could get more out of his footwork, more out of what his back leg is going to do. Again, it has to be controlled, it has to be well timed, but Hayden's not getting much here from his back leg. The rotation really is being driven by his front leg pushing against the ground, is really what's opening his hips, and then he's also using his upper body quite a bit. So the back leg isn't as involved as it could be. And you don't necessarily have to stride to get more contribution, out of the back leg. I teach, I try to teach the natural footwork of, back leg gets ready right before release, that pulls up the foot, and then when the back leg unloads, that's what puts the foot down. So this is just a natural, load, unload, and we really try to feel like it's one fluid, smooth movement, one fluid, natural movement. But you don't have to take a step to get that done, but we do need to get some type of driving component, out of this back leg, and that can be done without a stride. One of the things you want to watch for, you don't want to feel like there's a disruption in the fluidity of the move. Let's take a look now at the action of the back arm, and I think Hayden launches from an outstanding position, a very position where the barrel is stacked above the hands, and we see a lot of similarities here with the barrel right on top of the hands there, very similar to where we're launching from. Hand just back of the shoulder, barrel is light, and we've got a nice short path. So the elbow stays bent. It keeps a very nice bent elbow. Okay, and the bat is held in a light position. You find a lot of youth hitters, their first move is to straighten the back elbow and go palm up with the hand. But opposite of that, he's got the elbow bent, palm still out here, which keeps the barrel nice and stacked. Okay, so he's launching from a great position. This is a very easy position to get to the ball. Basically, just dropping the head behind the baseball at that point, and that's a really nice launch position. Now, again, when I teach the back arm action, we try to teach it in a throwing action, very similar to what an infielder does to get the ball out of the glove. If you look at Miggy Cabrera down there, you see how the elbow works up, and then the elbow works to the ball, and the bat head is thrown behind the baseball. Okay, it whips out. The arm is contact here. We're not quite extended, but then through contact, that arm is whipping out into extension. Gwen has a little bit less of a loading action, but he has more than what Hayden has here. Okay, obviously being a right-handed thrower, that's not quite as natural of a move for him, but he could probably benefit from a little bit more winding up of that back arm, keeping the elbow bent like he has it, but a little bit more winding up of the back arm. Now, everybody's elbow is going to slot. At some point the elbow is going to work down to the ball, and we really want this nice position that he has there. That's outstanding. The launch position's outstanding. And then from here, we want to feel that back arm throw through the baseball. We're going to make contact just short of extension. You see Gwen here. You see Miggy there. And then we're going to go ahead and extend through. I wouldn't mind seeing him finish a little bit more with that left arm through contact. So we're going to get contact here, and then a couple frames after contact, those hands should finish. And anytime we make a throw in action, the hand pronates. And for the hitter, that means that top hand is going to get over the top when we finish. You can see him getting over the top there, but Gwen and Cabrera getting over the top sooner after contact. So, a little more throwing action to kind of start things, a little bit more of a wind-up to start things, and a little bit more of a throwing action to finish things, really finishing that left arm through the ball. And you can really see that there in our Hall of Famers, as they really finish with that back arm through the ball. Yeah, I think the right-handed swing, he has a little more finish there. That's his natural right-handed side. Well, I think this swing is more consistent and a better path overall. You can see the throw-like properties are a little better here. The arm extends through and gets over the top a little better. But again, right here is the critical position. Elbow bent, hand towards the pitcher, and you're going to be able to drop the head on the ball from there. It's a short path with a light bat, and you'll be able to drop that head behind the ball, and nothing needs to change there. That's a great spot. Maybe just a little bit more to kind of start things, a little bit more to finish things, but that's a really outstanding position to launch from. Okay, third and final area again is the front side. Okay, I really kind of consider that everything from the eyes down through the front foot. And we really want to try to establish a strong, stable, front side to hit behind. One of the things that maybe not a lot of people realize is that front side lands the same way it started, meaning, the hips are still square, the feet are still pointing straight ahead, the feet aren't turned, the hips haven't turned, the eyes are in the same position, the front leg is bent but firm. And if you back us up to the starting position, you can see again everything's squared off. The front leg has some bend in it, but it's firm. We're going to land bent and firm on that front leg and hit behind that front side. So we're looking for a strong front leg that's stable. The knee doesn't continue to bend. It doesn't straighten too soon. We want to hit behind that front side. There should be some tilt to the torso as we go through. And we want to feel like our head, stays behind the baseball. And even the front arm, we're not trying to take that front arm and pull the bat around in a circle. We're actually trying to throw that top hand past the lead arm. So we really are trying to, kind of take the back side and hit against or behind that front side. Okay. And so also as part of the front side, of course, we'll look at the lead arm. And I can certainly tell that Hayden has really tries to keep some bend or some flexion in that lead arm. I think this is something that is taught to prevent kids from flattening with the bat, and it works. It will work to keep the bat taller, but a lot of times at the expense of bringing the hands forward too soon, which can be bad for plate management as well as for energy creation and transfer. Okay, and what I really teach with the lead arm is you don't want to force it to straighten. Okay, you don't want to force extension, but you don't want to try to lock out the front side either. The hands have to be back last. We want the back elbow to stay very bent, through the sliding phase. Very bent here through the sliding phase, but the lead arm should be allowed to stretch a little bit to keep the hands back. And you can see here Hayden, especially in the lefty swing here, is bent there, but as he goes, that arm does begin to stretch back, and that's going to keep the hands back and put everything into the proper sequence. So and again, as he goes to the ball, that arm gets pretty long, and that's the natural way of things. That's really what should happen. So I would just say I would probably relax that lead arm a little bit and not try to hold that position as much, and just kind of let that lead arm do what it's going to do. We don't want to force it to bar out. But for example, this position here, is a little bit of a tight position. I think he's causing to rush the hands a little bit. But even in the righty swing, it does begin to to extend through contact, and that's what's going to happen. That back arm, right, as it throws out, it's going to be very bent here as it slots, but then as it throws out, it's going to begin to whip out into extension. Now it's not usually fully extended at contact, but it's getting there, and right through contact, it's going to extend and pronate. Okay, just like we were making a sidearm throw, we're going to throw the ball, then we're going to extend, and then that hand's going to pronate over the top. So, in summary, it's the back arm that really controls this short path that we want. This great angle he's got here is with the the proper positioning of the bent back elbow and the palm on the pitcher, and the lead arm should be allowed to just kind of stretch and kind of be guided by what the back arm is doing. The lead arm's not going to get too long as the back arm stays bent. I really can't say that enough. As long as that back elbow stays bent and the hand's in the proper position, odds of this barring out and getting too long, it's pretty tough to do. Okay, kind of finishing up here on the front side. One other thing that we really like to see this knee position, behind the foot, hip behind knee, shoulder behind hip, and head behind everything. But it's kind of set up here, with this position of the knee behind the foot to allow us to create more leverage behind that front side. And you can see Hayden kind of allows that knee to kind of, part of that because his lower half is so soft, it it makes that position kind of tough to get to. And even here from the right side, that knee's a little too stacked. Again, I like to see that knee behind the front side for just better leverage to hit behind that front side. And he does brace up, especially on this swing. I like the way he braces up, and there's good funneling. That's kind of that whip effect that I look for out of the front side. Did we kind of get a lot of the energy out to the hands? Did we brace up and give everything to the hands and bat there? And I like that. But I do think that a little bit more out of the lower half and a little more set up with a better leverage position, out of that front leg as he gets through there. Okay. Head position stays good. He keeps the head back, and he's got a very quiet head. Not a whole lot of excessive activity there, and that looks really good. Okay. And even though this arm doesn't quite, I mentioned how the back arm doesn't quite get out there as far. I do like the way the hands are finishing. A little late, but the hands look good. Now I do like the hands a lot from the right side. I like what the hands are doing a lot from the right side there. There's a little better throwing characteristic there from the right side. Okay, but he's launching. He's launching from a great position here. That's just outstanding. He's a very good athlete, very strong, athletic, great hand-eye coordination for his size, and he hasn't needed as much contribution from his lower half to hit as well as he's hitting now. I do think down the line, as the bats get heavier and the guys are throwing even harder, he's going to need a little bit more energy production, from that back half, and a little bit more to kind of get him started with the back arm, to start things, and again, like we talked about, really feeling that arm finish through contact. But again, just a real good position to launch from in his swing right now. Play it, all the way through here. All right, Hayden. Hope to see you soon, man.